Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Q&A session for yesterday's XpressAccounts sneak peek of the new UI UX. My name is Paul Forrest. I'm the VP of Sales Engineering. Like yesterday, I am being joined by my colleague, Brandon Sisola. So we are going to go through and look at all the questions that we didn't get to yesterday and be able to make sure that we get all of them answered, and if we need to show any additional parts of the platform with the new modern, we can do that real quick. Just so everyone knows, this is being recorded, so you should get a link after the presentation with the recording, and we'll also make the Q&A available to everyone that was in this session. So I'm going to go over, and a lot of this is just going to be repeats, but there were a lot of questions, so I think we're going to go through a couple of the slides we went over, make sure we add some additional context, and make sure everyone's clear on those. So let's go to the first slide. All right. This is just the agenda, and as I mentioned, we're looking at just the Q&A from the webinar and any new additional questions. Let's start first, Brandon, with going over the project updates, just so everyone has a clear picture of the timeline and what's going to be available when.
Sure, and I'm actually not seeing the slide update yet. We're still on the title slide here. There we go.
Sorry about that.
All right, no problem. Thanks, Paul. So I'll be talking about the project update. If you were on the webinar yesterday, which if you're here, we assume you were, we're just going to be reiterating what we talked about yesterday. So from a whole project standpoint for the modern experience, XpressAccounts is finalizing the development. So we are going to be wrapping that up in the next couple of months here, doing some internal QA and then making that available for beta testing in the near future. And I'll be talking a little bit more about the timeline there and how you can go ahead and volunteer for beta testing when it's available. We do have indirect auto, direct auto, credit cards, and personal loans available today. So all of those application types can be enabled in your beta and or demo environments. And if you want to take them to your production site, you can do that as well. We are very excited that we do have 23 institutions live with LoanSpeak Modern Experience in some capacity right now, and 7 more are already signed up to go live in the next 2 months. One other thing that's a little bit outside of the modern experience update, but it is an important update we wanted to talk about, and I'm sure there'll be some questions that we'll want to cover on this later, is that Plaid is going to be available for Application Portal very soon. And so what Plaid is it's more of a account verification piece rather than an actual account funding or ACH funding piece. What Plaid does is it sits on top of the funding option in Application Portal. So when someone goes to fund their account via their external account, rather than putting in a routing number and account number directly, they'll be given the ability to do a sign-on into another bank or credit union's credentials, and then that will automatically verify their account and pull back the routing number and account number for them. So again, it's not actually doing the ACH. You still need to use either Magic Writer or the Notcha file that you use today in XpressAccounts. However, it is going to fulfill that verification piece that is going to be a requirement as of next year. And then looking for the roadmap for next year for the Modern Experience project, as I mentioned, XpressAccounts is going to be available for beta testing early next year. So we're looking at around late Q1 2021. Really, we're thinking the March timeframe is when we'll open it up for people to enable it in their beta and demo site. And then a few months after that, once we've had people test it out, provide us feedback, we're able to iterate and improve the product. We'll be making it available for production. And we will have communications on the community forum and sending out email announcements around more specific timing when it's going to be available. Home equity is also going to begin development in early 2021. Our team is going to pivot from finishing XpressAccounts over to home equity. And we anticipate beta testing in the second half of 2021 as well. And then the same schedule of having people test it out for a few months, provide feedback, we iterate, and then we'll make it available for production. And then finally, business loans will be the last application type we are doing in the modern experience, and that development will begin after the home equity module is completed. So as far as the rollout or the upgrade path for the modern experience, note that XpressAccounts is not available today. So if you do ask support today to enable it, they won't be able to help you with that. However, we are looking at more of a March timeframe for that. And we will be providing communication on the community forum, sending out email announcements, make sure that you'll hear about it. So if you are interested in being a beta tester early next year, you will hear from us on that. However, if you are interested in trying out any of the other application types that are available today, indirect auto, direct auto, credit card, and personal loans, you can contact support and let them know which application types you want to have enabled in your beta environment. They'll flip the switch for you. It's as easy as that. All of your existing preferences, configuration, core integration, all those things are going to be maintained. So you'll see the applications in a new view. When you create new applications, it'll be in the new view, but you'll still be able to access any existing applications you had. And for any application types that you don't have in the modern experience, you'll still access those. It'll be in the classic view. One system still. So the path to go live is you request it in beta, test it out, make sure you're comfortable with the end-to-end workflow, contact support to enable it in demo, do some more testing there, make sure that your users are trained on it. It doesn't require a full redeployment, but because it is a different UI UX, it is going to require a little bit of an adjustment period for your users. And then when you're ready, you contact support to enable the modern experience in production. We'll provide you with a sign-off sheet, making sure that you went through and tested all of the various functionalities in the system. And then you provide us with the date and time that you want to go live. At that time, support will enable it for you, and you can go ahead and go live with modern experience in production. So as of right now, there is no cost to enable and upgrade to the modern experience. And all you have to do to get the process started is reach out to support.
Brandon, I'd like to mention, also remember the main page is an update option. So when you're selecting the op types, you might want to go with the enhanced main page, because that does really clean up that experience for the internal.
Yeah, that's a good call out. And that's actually a correction on something that I said yesterday in the webinar. I mentioned it would be in the December release notes. It's actually already in the November release notes. So if you go into our knowledge base, you can find the information on the modern experience dashboard or homepage, and it'll have the information on how you can enable that there. And then secondly, we did talk about Application Portal yesterday. If you are interested in using Application Portal instead of one of the legacy consumer sites of V1 or V2, go ahead and get the process started by contacting your partner success manager. They'll get you all the information you need. All you have to do, basically assign the addendum, you get placed into the queue. Meridian Link will assign a implementation consultant to do the project management for you, and will train you on Application Portal, get that set up, and you'll go live. Typically, we have anywhere between a 3 to 6 month deployment time from when you actually start deployment to when AP is going to be available in your production site.
Great. Okay. Well, let's start with the questions.
Okay, this is Kevin again, and I'm going to be asking the questions of Brandon and Paul. I'm going to go back and forth between questions that were asked yesterday and those that you asked today. So we'll kick it off. The first one from today, I have a question about the webinar on the 10th. We went live with XA in July, so we are very new to it. Would the webinar on the 10th be beneficial, or is it really directed to those who currently don't use it?
And I can take that one. That is designed as a high-level webinar. So it's a group. There'll be normally 20 to 30 different financial institutions on that call. We're going to do a full application portal, show you what that customer member experience will be like to open up a new membership or deposit. Then we do go over the new modern UI UX, show what that in-branch will be, possibly a little bit more thorough than we went through it yesterday, and then we'll wrap it up. It's not going to be a complete demo. We're not going to show the setup admin functionality. It is designed as a front end for someone that does have an interest in going with XpressAccounts, But if you're new to it and you just want to get an idea for some best practices, we will show automated communications and some of the additional features. Hopefully that helps.
Okay. Paul, can you please show the home page again for the new modern experience?
Absolutely. Oops, is that too long? So this is the new home page right here. You'll notice right here, you have by default, this is going to sit on your personal queue, but any list of additional queues are right here on the right-hand side. So I could go down here and let me see if I have one that has some apps in it. So accounts ready for funding. I can open that and that will switch the position. And right now in the center, I've got this is my ready for funding queue. If I needed to get back to my personal queue, it would be right here. Again, it's just a much simpler, cleaner version. You still have the regular tabs up top. You have the quick search, and I can click here to open up the advanced search options for either lending or for new accounts just by clicking right here. Right here is the ability to set reminders, change settings, log out. This is going to be any alerts that have come through. So if there's a new message, if there's a new document upload, that will show right here. And this is where all your knowledge-based and support options are going to be contained. You'll still have the little trail right here to get back to where you were. So if you go into admin, you can see it's pretty much going to be, this part is exactly like it was. Nothing's changed there. Really, it's just this main page that will change.
And just to add on there, we are finalizing the advanced search to be in the modern experience as well. And one big enhancement there that people have been asking for a while is the ability to save searches. And so that's something that you will only get in the modern experience with the advanced search. It'll work like you expect. You go in, do a search, you can click save, and then when you go back to that page, you'll have a list of any saved searches you have there, so you can use that a little bit more easily than you can today.
Okay, we have a couple of Plaid questions, which we knew we were going to get. So I'm going to ask them both together. They're from two different sources, but I'm going to, how many financial institutions are compatible with the Plaid functionality? I assume it would alert the applicant if their external FI is not compatible. And do you already know the cost for the Plaid integration?
So I don't know the number of institutions that it integrates with off the top of my head. I know that they have in the thousands. So they do have very good coverage, and they have coverage over all of the big institutions out there. I'm sure we can look that up and provide some more information as well in further communications, but they do have great coverage over the institutions. From a pricing perspective, we do not have that information yet, but when we do, we'll make sure to communicate that out. And just to potentially answer another question that may come up, if you are under 50 billion in assets, it'll be a direct relationship with Meridian Link. If you're over 50 billion in assets, that's the only time you would have to directly connect with and have an agreement with Plaid. So majority of our clients should fall in the direct relationship with Meridian Link.
Next questions, I'm going to put these two together for Paul. The application number and member name are tiny. Can the size be increased? And where do I see the external source, and where are the status logs?
Got it. Okay. Can you see my screen right now? Now, I think I might have had it squished down a little bit. So here I can tell you I've got bad eyes. I'm getting old and I can see this pretty well. It's right up here in the top corner. But we will have the ability to scale. I don't know, is that getting added in quickly, Brandon? Do you know where we are with that?
We don't have that right now, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's right there. If you see right here where it says view application details, this is where I'm going to be able to click, and this is where you're going to be able to see the source and any external source if it shows here, create date, modification histories, event histories, and assignment histories. So it's going to be all contained right here. I don't believe for an XA app that we have shown in the application an external source. It is a hidden field. I don't know if that's going to change, Brandon. Do you know offhand?
I do not, but if that's something that could be useful, we definitely want to hear that feedback because that's something we can absolutely add in here.
Sure. Yeah, I don't believe in the classic environment it had it visible either. It was available so you could print reports on it and you could run filters on it, but there was never a spot that said the external source. It does have the source right here, so you'll know if it's an online, if it came through an API. Hopefully that answers that question.
Next question. Will Apple Pay, Google Pay support be contingent on having modern or as long as you have application portal?
Good question.
Yeah, so that's only if you have application portal. You can have classic or modern experience for XA, and you'll have the ability to add in Google Pay and Apple Pay to application portal.
And when was that coming out, Brandon?
That's looking at Q1 of next year, so pretty soon here.
Our credit union currently has the modern experience of LPQ loaded in our beta site, and we have noticed there isn't an option to search for XA apps. Is this just because we only have the upgraded LPQ, or is the search functionality in the modern experience different when it comes to looking for existing new account apps?
I don't know that I get that question. If you've switched over to the modern main page, you should have, even in the old one, you can click right here and you've got the lending advanced search or the XA advanced search. If you're searching for just a standard quick search, if I scroll here, scrolling down, here's your XpressAccounts option. So here you could search by name, member number, social, business name, or app number. So this should work very much like it was working in Classic View. We'd have to get some more details on what might be missing or what you don't have access to.
Can we review the update? Can we review the update on customizing the UI on the customer view?
Okay, that's going to be something totally different. Brandon, do we have any updates on that?
So I think what that's referring to is maybe adding more configurability to Application Portal Manager.
Correct.
So that is something that we have in the 2021 roadmap for Application Portal. I can't provide a date at this time, but we are looking at basically any fields that should be configurable, adding in additional configurability there, and also adding in some additional customization options, things like being able to customize the footer of Application Portal. So just really making the what you see is what you get editor a little bit more fully fleshed out.
Can the home landing page be customized to a different pages beside my personal queue? Sort of missing some words in here. Can the home/landing page be customized to a different page beside my personal queue?
Do you know if this is persistent, Brandon, or does it always revert to personal?
I believe it reverts to personal. We don't have that capability today of defaulting a different queue on the home page, but there is some customizability. You can see with the little pin icons over in the queues, that will pin the queue to the top of that list and persist. However, that is something that we can look at potentially adding in a default queue option to show rather than personal queue here.
In the modern experience, will you be able to open 2 applications at the same time? This would be helpful when researching applications.
So we don't support that, and the reason that we haven't supported that in the past is around just the security of applications. We want to make sure that people don't have multiple applications up and are editing multiple applications and potentially enter in wrong data to those different applications. However, we have enhanced the ability to view other applications in the modern experience. Previously, we had a little banner at the top of the application called, I think it was the last applied alert, and it would show one application. Instead of having just one application there, we now have the ability to view previous apps, and that's going to show both forward in time and backward in time any applications from that applicant. So it gives you a better view of all the applications that they have submitted. And from there, you can also pull up the summary screen. And so you could take that and you could put that on another monitor. Opening up the ability for multiple applications is something that we've talked about. However, we do need to do some more investigation into that to make sure that we would be doing it in a secure manner. And Paul's showing the view apps here.
Yeah, and once you view the app, you do have the ability of pulling up the summary of that other app, which is very similar to having it open. You can see all of the different scoring. So if you want to see if the score has improved or decreased, you can check the employment, you can check the income on these previous apps. So this one just happened to, I was hoping I'd get one that had more than one application. Do you know what the limit here is currently, Brandon?
15.
15. So this will show the 15 previous applications for this individual applicant. So it's a much quicker, easier view. It shows right up top, right when we start the application. So it's one of the first things you'll see as you're scrolling down on a new application within the modern experience.
Will we only be able to see queues versus being able to see the number of applications in the queue? Today, we need to see queues in a list in order to pull apps that show a status of member waiting, or is this only for Express applications regarding queue view and does not apply to loans?
No, this is for both. You will notice there is a number shown here, and I believe these will still respect the show if, only show if there are apps in the queue. So I really should have turned that on. These that don't have apps in the queue can be suppressed. And then I would suggest that you should have a queue specifically for member waiting and pin that to the top. So if you have an app that comes in, and if there's a member applicant that is waiting for decision, that can show up right here on the top. And there is, as you see here, there's 4 apps in this queue, there's 2 in this, all these others, this one has 1, this one has 1. So the numbers are the same, it just is a little bit different. And this will show applications for new accounts and for lending. It's exactly like the queuing functionality you've got today, just a little bit different layout.
Does the beneficiary section import to core to bring in an existing person when we have a social security number available to import?
Does it import from core, correct?
I believe that's what it's saying, yes.
Yes, I don't believe it does. Do you know, Brandon?
We can pull it up here. I thought the only option here was to import from a co-applicant rather than from the core itself.
Yeah. So currently we do not have the ability to query core to pull in a beneficiary. If the beneficiary happens to be the joint here, then that will flood over. But other than that, we haven't done it. That's another one. Let us know if that's a functionality that is needed. And we can look at adding that.
Is there any integration with Verifin for the CDD questionnaire?
Who? I don't think I've heard that before.
Never, not at this time. So we are talking to Verifin. However, we don't have anything definite. I think things got a little shaken up on their side as well with the recent acquisition. So we'll continue to talk to them and see what we can do there. We do want to get that into the system as we've had a number of clients ask for it, but there's just nothing imminent or with a planned date.
Greetings. Will there be an opportunity to generate data extract files such as for import to customer information file systems?
That currently exists. There's 2 different options for that, depending on the level of detail that you're looking for. what we've done before is you can use the custom extract under the reporting functionality. So depending on which app types, some are a little bit more robust on the data sets. So you can take a look here, and I believe we do have a list of all the available fields within custom reports that we can send if you request that. Option 2 would be to use our full CLF extract, which has all of the fields, but it does come in a XML format. It's a little bit more complex. You would have to consume the XML, parse out the data that you need, and then push it over to your CRM system.
I'm seeing 5 custom scores. Are additional custom scores being added with ME?
That was something that we added back just to accommodate some of the newer bureau scores. So some people are liking to do a standard classic FICO, auto enhanced FICO, and then there are multiple values. And Brandon, you might want to speak to this. We have a custom scoring department at Meridian Link that can contribute to that. There's things like Experian Fast Start. There's many different scoring matrices that are now being added. So we did run into some limitations with only 2 custom scores. Brandon, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, just to clarify, that is available for both classic and modern. So I believe that was in either the November or the December release notes as well. Those are available today. And like Paul said, there's a proliferation of scores coming out right now that you can use for loans or Express accounts. So those are available, and you can use them as of today as long as you have the latest update.
In the modern experience, can you click on the drop down to see what other comment options there are?
It's a little bit different for a loan than it is for Express accounts. Under Express accounts, we have an internal comment, which is again just meant to convey internal comments that are not really relevant to the decision. There's a memo, which is like a post-it note, just something that doesn't stay necessarily with the application. And there's a denial reason. If I go to a loan application, just pull up my loan app, there is a few more options there because we've got stipulations and approval reasons contained in that same widget. So let me pull that up again. Add comment. So right here, we still have internal comment, but we also have approval reasons, which can be templated like in the classic experience. We have an option for stipulations, which can be templated as shown here. Unable to fund, memo, denial reasons, which is again another one that can be templated.
Where's the core individual ID?
The core individual ID. Now that would probably be on a banking core. Do you have some context on who asked the question?
This came from Mr. Vang from Noble Credit Union, and basically it's where is the core individual ID?
I would suppose if it's a credit union, he's speaking about member number. Now, I guess it depends on which core he's on, because some have, if it's DNA, they've got a person ID. So we would have to kind of clarify. This is set up for a core that doesn't have it, but the person ID, do you know where that's going to show, Brandon?
It'll show where you are right now. Yeah, so if there's a specific field for your core system that shows an addition to member number today, it'll be in this section. As Paul said, this is not set up to a core system, so we don't get any of those specific fields available.
Yeah. Well, this is set up to just a credit union core that doesn't have a person ID or an individual ID for the each individual person. So this just has member number, but it would be right here on DNA or a core that has that individual ID.
Is there a way to set which columns appear in custom queues on the admin side, or is it only adjustable by each individual user, referring to the show/hide wheel in the upper right corner?
Brandon?
Yeah, like Classic, it is on a per user basis, but that's something that we can look at doing if you wanted to standardize that across your user set. That is something that we could add in potentially as an enhancement in the future.
When we swap to Modern Experience for XpressAccounts, do we have to specifically request that support migrate all of our custom score mapping? We currently have Modern Experience in beta for our loan modules and have found in testing that some were not migrated. We had to open support tickets for each we found.
Was that custom score or custom core mapping?
Custom core,
Okay.
C-O-R-E.
Okay. That you should not have to open tickets for that. So I am curious why that was the case. For the loans, that might just be an environment issue. I know that a lot of people don't use their beta environments fully, and so they may not have all of their changes there. But when enabling Modern Experience, you shouldn't have to redo your core integration mapping.
In Classic XA, the loan side will indicate duplicate loan apps, but not current/pending XA apps. Does Modern Experience correct this?
What it will show, again, if you look at previous applications, it shows XA versus loans. So I guess I know what you're saying. It shows you a duplicate app warning, loan to loan or XA to XA, but there's no crossover. So you're not going to see, and I don't believe it shows on the previous history an XA. That is, I believe, fixed in the modern. Is that correct, Brandon?
Yeah, so the example that you brought up there was an XA app and it was showing the credit card. So you're correct in that it won't cross over for a duplicate detection logic across XA and loans, which is by design because we want people to be able to do like a combo app on application portal and not have those flagged as duplicates. But it will show loan applications in the previous apps for an XA application and vice versa.
In the Modern Experience for XA, where's the audit function?
Oh, sorry, what was that? I was reading something.
In the Modern Experience, where is the audit function?
I believe this is what she's talking, she or he is talking about right here. So you hit view application details. It's much simpler to get to. It's right here. You're going to click on, and the first thing it's going to show is modification history. So this is where you're going to see anything that was changed, who the changer was, what the changer ID, time and date. So I believe this is primarily it, but the next thing you're going to see is right here, the event history. This is going to show anyone that opened or saved it or pulled the Express ID verification, anything like that. So debit bureau pulled, saved, debit bureau pulled. So this is the replacement right here. I think it's a lot easier to get to, and it's on the top of every page as you go through. It just remains persistent right on the top there.
Do we need to approve accounts in this experience, or do they just carry forward from the initial selection?
So there's still the approval, but it's a lot easier to do it in this version because you can click complete account setups and that will basically approve everything for you through a wizard.
Can you please develop spell check when typing comments?
We can look into doing that. That's a good suggestion.
Right. Now, I think for the most part, my computer spells check, does it not?
It does depend on the browser.
Oop. Yeah, so most, and for this, you're going to be on Chrome. So Chrome typically, depending on your settings for the browser, should have a spell correct right in it.
Is your view expanded or zoomed in, or is this the normal view?
I am at 110%, so I am just up 10%. This is the standard 100% view.
Will Modern Experience offer a direct line of communication between Combo, XA, and Loan apps? Right now, when a Combo app is submitted, the two separate apps do not communicate with each other. Will this be enhanced at some point?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we don't have it right now, but that is something on our 2021 roadmap, finding a way to better link Combo applications when they're submitted from AP into LBQXA.
And there should be something in comments that does indicate that there's a companion app, and I believe, are they cross-linked? I believe they are. I haven't checked it for a while.
Yeah, so you'll have the comments, and then you'll also have the view other apps where you could see that, but we want to call out much more clearly, like in a banner up at the top, that this is attached to or linked to the other application. That's a good suggestion.
Could you do a drop down on comments with common questions?
What did we want to do with this, Kevin? I didn't hear the question.
Could you do a drop down on comments with common questions?
Common questions. I don't
Some
understand.
questions, maybe? I think the question is, could they enhance a custom question that is a drop down to have a comment? So if they're as an answer to a custom question, could they have a drop down? And the way that you would just configure that would be, you would have a second custom question where they would fill in the free text area depending on the answer of that drop down, the first custom question.
Right. Yeah, so this could say, do you have any additional comments? And if this said yes, there could be a free-form text box like this that shows up where they can, if that's what if we're interpreting that correctly, that is possible. It could be dynamic. If this said no, it would suppress this second question here.
Our IT department is stating that Chrome is part of Microsoft Edge's latest version. Will we be able to use Edge for Modern Experience as we do now on Classic?
Yes, soon. So we've been testing that for the last few months internally, making sure that it was working as expected. Your IT department is correct. The new Edge is built on Chromium, so it basically is Chrome with a Microsoft skin. So it should work as expected. However, we know that with the Chrome rollout, there were some obstacles we needed to hurdle with that. And so we want to make sure that we are testing comprehensively internally before we roll it out. But you can anticipate that early next year, we're going to be making Edge available. There'll be more communication on that as we make it official.
As an admin, I have access to numerous queues on my homepage, so I very much like the icon view in Classic since I can see all of them quickly and easily. Will this be an option on the Modern homepage?
As we've shown in the new version right here, the queue list is going to be right here. Now, they're not going to be an icon as you're used to them, but you can see here's the queue name, here's the number in the queue, and we can either open or just claim the next app from that queue right here. So this has been a little bit enhanced. It's going to be very much easier for your individuals to get the next app that they need to work on just by clicking here to claim the application. And it will just open up that next app that needs to be worked on. So I think that's a big improvement over the current functionality where you have to be in a starting app to go ahead and claim next. But this is, as of now, the view. It's going to be able to scroll. I'll have to scroll down. If you have 100 queues, it might get a little bit of scrolling for you.
Yeah, and to add on to that, it's good feedback for admins. We can look into potentially replacing the My Personal Queue view with more of a grid of the different queues that you have available rather than a list. So we'll take that feedback back and see if that's something that we could add in the future.
Is there a text field to communicate with a new member?
That would be right here. So if you wanted to communicate with a new member, let me come here, sorry. I think I've gotten to the wrong thing. My personal queue, let me go back to this app right here. This option right here under message, this is where you're gonna be able to send a secure web message. This will trigger a email that goes out to them, and they'll have to go into AP, they'll have to go to the check status or however you're gonna label that link, and they'll be able to view and reply right back to this internal message. Now we also have options through automated actions, depending on the status of the application and the business rules, where we could send a text message or send an email. But those are predetermined. If you want an ad hoc message, right now this is the best option right here.
Do we now have access to DLs that have been scanned into the app portal? Will those be available with this new modern experience?
Yes, and they should be available in the classic experience, but if I come through here, I don't know which one I've scanned a DL into. Let me just check. I think I've got it in the other XA app, but let me check this loan app. Of course not this one, so come back here real quick. In the modern experience, right on documents, it's going to be right here where it says upload it. Now there is an option that you might be running into that will suppress a document that has an image on it because it's considered a secure document. That might be why you're not seeing them in the classic view. But right here, I can click right here, front of my driver's license. Click here, back of my driver's license.
Will there still be a limit on the number of documents generated?
Brandon?
There's no change to that right now.
Can the driver's license or ID upload automatically to the core?
Not to the core. We haven't had any middleware that I'm aware of that will take an image through the middleware. So there's not a core that I'm aware of that has an option where we can send an image. We can send it to your optical storage, which sometimes can be accessed through the core. But I know there are some cores that have a spot for a image directly in them. As I know it of now, there's not a spot in the middleware. So that would be, you'd have to contact your core system and see if they can get a command so we can send that image in.
Will we be able to send automated emails encrypted?
The only encryption option would be here to send a secure web message. So this does go through HTTPS to encrypt it. We do not have a secure email option currently. So if you are sending anything that is sensitive, I would use the automated actions and send out we call it a web MS, but this would be a fully encrypted secured message that's going to go directly to that applicant. Now they will get a unencrypted email that says you have a new message, just prompting them to go in and to retrieve the message.
Are the emails sent via automated actions sent securely to send new account number info? Just sort of an add-on to the last question.
Yeah, and that's the same thing. If you're going to send that via an email, emails are not secured, they're not encrypted. It would be just like sending a standard email. So it is subject to somebody getting into it. I know people do it. That's up to you and your security team, your compliance team. A better option might be to use a secure web message that is fully encrypted.
Will there ever be an instance of Modern Experience that is designed for in-branch use on a tablet, a quick app function, so to speak? Right now, we use the AP on our iPads for in-branch members to apply.
Brandon, I'll leave this one over to you.
No plans for that at this time. I do think AP is probably the best option for that for the foreseeable future. It's something that we could potentially explore, but I don't think we'll be doing the Modern Experience. It probably would just be an extension of something like Application Portal.
So the Modern Experience is only admin facing, not applicant facing?
Correct. Yeah, the applicant facing portal right now is application portal, and that's, you know, it's been improved, but it's the same as it's been for a while.
Can you show where fraud or alerts are cleared?
Brendan, do you know offhand where the, you know, I haven't had a fraud alert, so I'm not exactly sure where that's going to be. I'm going to assume it would be on the qualification page.
Yeah, it will. And so I know previously in loan and express account applications, when you had fraud, you kind of had to go hunting for that. It will show you a fraud. So right up where, if you scroll back up, Paul, it says debit bureau pass there. There would be a red pill, is what we call those little oval shapes, and it would say like fraud found. And right next to that, you would also have a hyperlink of resolve fraud. And when you click on that link, it would bring up a pop-up to be able to potentially clear the fraud, clear OFAC, clear high-risk consumer, and put in comments. And that is also one item that we did enhance with the Modern Experience previously. You could clear OFAC, high-risk consumer, and fraud, and you would only have to put in one comment. Now it is itemized to each. So if you have to clear OFAC and high-risk consumer, each of those will require a reason. They can be the same reason, but ideally, you know, you have a more specific reason for each of them.
Is the ID scan functionality going to be present in Modern Experience?
Yeah, so that's been a fun project. And essentially, the ID scanning plugin that we had before worked with ActiveX. ActiveX only works with older browsers like Internet Explorer. So Edge, Chrome, they don't have ActiveX. And so what we were using before was not available. We are working with the creators of the ScanShell software hardware to integrate with an API so we can do the scanning. Unfortunately, they did inform us that the API that we had developed to is being sunset, and they have a newer version. So with that said, we are working on building to that newer version to make ID scanning possible. And with that, we also hope we'll have more value, because rather than just scanning the contents off the ID card, they're optionally also going to allow for ID verification. And so you can actually verify the validity of that driver's license or ID with that scan. So we'll have more information on that coming soon. We know that's a high priority for a lot of clients out there.
What I like about the classic view is that the different modules are color coded. Are there any plans to code the XA Modern Experience to red in order to differentiate from loan modules?
We probably won't be changing the bars or anything like that, but one thing that we have looked at doing based on feedback is changing the little icons that we have. So for XA, it's a piggy bank. We can make that the same red. I think the one that we would reserve the right to change the color of is probably home equity, or sorry, business loans, because that gold isn't my favorite color. But in general, I think we are open to changing the icon colors to help that instant realization of what application type it is.
Where can I find my QR code? And is there an additional cost for the QR code option?
Yeah, QR code is just something that is fairly simple to create. So I would come up here, I would just get the URL for the application that you're going to link to. So I just happen to go to a bank site here, taking a second. So once this comes up, I'm just going to grab this URL, copy, I just use a standard off-the-shelf QR code generator. Now, you might want to get something, make sure your security team goes over it. This is the one I typically use. I just paste that in there and boom, there's my QR code. Now I would just save this. And that would take me right to that URL that I did. So it's a very simple thing. There's no cost for it. You can just use any generic QR code generator, put in the URL for each application that you're trying to access, and you'd be able to go in and create multiple QR codes for the different application types. If it was for XA, says that's where we're going, I would select which XA one I'm going to, and then I would just get this link and generate a QR code from that link. Very simple to do.
Any plans to integrate with the digital IDs offered by the state?
Keeping an eye on that, and also looking at potential different vendors that offer centralized ID services. I know one that comes to mind is ID.me. So we're looking at that for 2021. No concrete plans to do so, but we see that everyone's moving in that direction. So we want to make sure that we're staying ahead of the game there too.
Will the ability to display a general message to all users upon login at the top of the screen become available down the road?
Yeah, so I think that was the old announcements functionality. We can look at bringing that back if that's something that you're interested in, which it sounds like from the question. That should be fairly simple to re-implement that into the system.
Can cell phones be required?
Now, are we talking about in AP or in Modern Experience? Because it's a little bit different. In Application Portal, what I know some people do is they change the nomenclature from cell phone, home phone, and they just go with a primary, secondary approach. Now that does mean you're still only going to get one phone number in branch though, because we can't differentiate what the type of number is. But that would be, depends on how you want to do it. Brandon, do you have any other comments on that one?
No, I think you covered that. It's really going to be around the preferred contact method for in-branch and requiring it there.
I would suggest if you're going to require in-branch, it might lead some difficulties. I know it seems heresy, but not everyone has a mobile phone these days, but not everyone has a home phone. So you're going to get into a situation where there's going to be individuals that don't have one or the other option. So if you do require one or both of them, sometimes it's not going to work.
Will eDoc innovations be coming as an integration down the road?
We don't have any plans to integrate at this time, no.
Okay, we're still getting a ton of questions, and we're going to have to wrap this up shortly. So I'm going to ask just a few more that we have time for. But remember, we are going to be providing answers to all the questions that were asked to everybody who either attended yesterday or today. So you can continue to ask your questions. We just may not have time for them today. Are there any costs to upgrade?
At this time, no. All you have to do is contact support, and you can get started on that path. It's a free upgrade right now.
Are you saying act now?
Act now.
Right.
When will be the sunset date when a credit union must be on the new XA?
It's a good question. We don't have one right now, and we'll give you plenty of time in notice before we would sunset Classic. However, we're not talking about doing a sunset date until all the application types that you need are available.
Will the modern experience allow us to control funding functionality, such as disable internal account funding for a new membership application?
I don't believe so, Brandon. The funding options in the setup is going to be controlled either an application portal if you're speaking about an online app, or internally there's been no changes to the setup configuration. So if you're going to allow internal transfer, I don't believe we can differentiate between existing and new.
Yeah, that's correct. The configuration there has not changed.
And this is the last question. I'm sorry, but they just keep pouring in here. So can you point in the direction of where the QR code info is located within knowledge base?
I don't think it is. I don't know. Do you have any idea, Brandon? I don't believe we've ever set up a help page. That's something that we can put in a request to our doc team so they can add something there and we can get a verified solution that we vetted out that everyone can use that's going to be safe. But that's something that we don't have currently.
And this last little question here is a good segue back to you, Paul. And the next slide is the full demo next Thursday for Classic or for the Modern experience?
Great question, great segue. So the full demo will cover the application portal. So it's going to show the experience online. We're going to do it on a desktop, but we'll show you how it renders. And then it will be the modern experience. So I have told them to go over a little bit more in depth on the modern experience, showing the in-branch wizard as much as we can. It's not 100% done. But this is the link right here. There's another option if you check in your chat history. So everyone should be able to go to the little chat icon. There is a live link right here that will take you right here to the link for our product demo schedule. And you can see right here is the XpressAccounts demo that's coming up on the 10th. And you can simply click there to register to attend that webinar. Again, it is a high-level overview demo, but we will show the modern experience, and we'll go over it, as I mentioned, a little bit more in depth than we did yesterday. So that's a great question. Let's see here, come down to the last slide right here. So if there's anything else that you want to get additional information on, you can contact Partner Success Manager, your Business Development Director, or Account Executive. If all that fails, you can send an email to salessupport@meridianlink.com. Here's a link to our additional webinars that might be coming up. So hopefully everyone's familiar with that. That should be how you got the link to yesterday's webinar. And then last thing here is we just appreciate everyone's feedback. As we mentioned, you should get an email with both a link to the recording plus a document that has all of the questions that were posed along with the written out answers. So we'll get that all over to you.
And that is a link for both webinars, yesterday and today.
Excellent. All right, well, we wish everyone a happy holiday coming up, and thank you for your participation.
Thanks, everyone.
You.